Hi, my name is Simon, and today I'm going to be talking about the importance of an opening scene. How important is an opening scene in a film? Clearly an end scene is extremely important in the minds of the viewer because it leaves a residual feeling on them after watching a film. But what can a great opening scene do to a viewer? Obviously, for a movie to be amazing, it has to be consistently good throughout. But having a phenomenal opening scene will make the viewer grip to their seats, wanting to see more throughout the rest of the film. It's November. You know what that means. Time to talk about my favorite horror movie, and one of my favorite opening scenes of all time, Scream. Oh wait, Halloween was last month. Doesn't matter. The scene opens in a kitchen with a phone ringing. Drew Barrymore's character, Casey, picks it up and it's a stranger. She thinks it's a wrong number, so she hangs up the call. However, immediately after, the phone rings again, and they chat a little, and she hangs up again. While not much has really happened in the scene so far, there is an unnerving quality to it. Wes Craven uses slightly slanted camera angles to display how this isn't your average wrong number phone call, and something is clearly not right with the situation. However, Casey isn't aware of this yet. The stranger calls a third time, and this time they actually start talking without hanging up. The conversation starts off about scary movies, but soon becomes flirtatious. This is quickly cut short with one of the most infamous lines in horror movie history that single-handedly changes the tone of the film. The stranger asks for her name, and she asks why. The stranger then responds with,
"I want to know who I'm looking at."
What makes this whole sequence fascinating is the use of long shots. It doesn't act like a horror movie in the typical sense of using quick swaps between camera angles and unnerving music. Instead, it opts to create a sense of normality. Almost like you're involved in Casey's everyday life. This makes the dramatic change to horror so much more of an immediate tonal shift. Instead of building suspense from the beginning, it chucks you right into the scenario along with the character of Casey, so you are able to feel the stress and anxiety along with her. Once the tone shift changes, while it still sticks with the long shots on Casey so the viewer is staying with her in the story, music and sound effects are used to add to the suspense. Particularly a drum hit is used almost to represent Casey's heart dropping as she's getting more and more terrified knowing someone's watching her, but not knowing where they are. This culminates to her turning on her patio light and seeing her boyfriend tied up on a chair. At this point, everything suddenly becomes real, and she knows there isn't even the slightest chance of it being a joke anymore. What I personally love about the film is it is one big parody on the horror genre at the time. Every horror film has its concept that separates it from each other. Nightmare on Elm Street, Killing in Your Dreams, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Cannibal Family, Halloween, Killing Babysitters, etc. Screams, however, is quizzing the person on the phone with horror movie trivia.
Name the killer in Friday the 13th.
Jason! Jason! Jason!
I'm sorry, that's the wrong answer.
While this isn't exactly the main drawing point for the film, it does kind of flip the genre on its head by becoming self-aware. It knows it's a horror movie and it owns up to the criticisms of the genre at the time.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie. For instance, number 1, you can never have sex.
What makes Scream as special as it is that parody nature that it has. At the time, most horror films were typically slasher films. There's a killer and they go around killing people in brutal ways. However, people always criticize the nature of these films. Characters were stupid and would trip all the time, the killers would walk towards them and somehow be faster than the person they were chasing, and the killers were usually unkillable. So what does Scream do? It makes the killer an average person who's able to be defeated. He's constantly undermined by the victims by getting tripped, hit, having things thrown at him, all of which is introduced in the opening scene. When Casey's being chased, she's eventually caught by the killer and stabbed. However, she still manages to injure him and get away before eventually she does get killed a couple minutes later. While this isn't anything too crazy, it was at the time very unusual to see the victim actually fight back in a somewhat meaningful way. Having the opening scene do this completely juxtaposes the typical slasher concept and gets the viewer completely hooked into the film and what the film may have to offer throughout the rest of its runtime. So in this way, the opening scene in a film is just as important as the resolution, if not more in a lot of ways. It establishes what the rest of the film will be like and more often than not builds excitement and suspense in the viewer that is needed to provide the optimal viewing experience. A film can only be so good without a good opening scene, and with a phenomenal opening scene like Scream, it is able to go over the edge from good to great. I've been Simon, thanks for watching.